Now, Google has just released a list of the most asked questions by Irish users. On top of it are the likes of what is love and how to kiss. WTF? Brian O'Neill went to ask.
I Google everything. Recently I Googled redheads. I wanted to find out more about us. I heard that we basically we feel pain more than other people. Something got to do with our genes or something. So just Google anything I want to know, really.
Were you surprised that learning how to kiss was one of Ireland's big Googles this year?
Yeah, very surprised.
How did you learn how to kiss?
Oh, Jesus, like everybody else. Just happened. Just figured it out. I'll never forget it. It was one of the biggest frights I've ever got. Because I never really thought about it. I was 11, I was way too young.
Could you survive in a world without Google?
Definitely. I would actually prefer a world without Google, without everything. I just think we're a little bit destroyed by it all, to be honest. Just like you don't have to ask other people and it's your brain, if you want to know something, Google it. It's brilliant in one sense, but I think it's really bad for us as people in another.
First and foremost, I think maybe we're Googling too much. Okay. I think because people are Googling now anything that they don't know. Like how to kiss, for example. Everyone should know how to kiss, you know what I mean?
How did you learn how to kiss?
Just kissing girls. I didn't Google it anyway. It was too long ago it was.
Do you think Google is kind of ruining the art of conversation and asking questions?
Definitely. Sure. Mate, say you're sitting in the pub or something. You could have 4 or 5 people there and they're all on their phones, you know what I mean? You're trying to get a bit of a conversation going. They're all on their phones going, how long? We'll Google it. Maybe that's a downside to it, But there is upsides to it, I suppose. Like, there is a world of knowledge there as well, You could just type in anything, the Spanish Civil War or something. Jeez, what year was that? You type it in, a whole big article comes up then, the Civil War, No, I suppose it has its good and its bad points,
What would you do in a world without Google?
The same thing we done before I came along. Just get on with it and maybe get your little cup of a string and hand it down the road there and hello, how are you getting on? Probably that sort of thing, As
I said, one of the stranger questions which came out in this was what is love was put into the Google search bar. So what is love?
I suppose love is just having an uncontrollable sort of desire. I don't know, I must Google it now later on, see, just to see what happens, see what comes up there.
I haven't access at the minute to my computer as I had been. My husband has retired and he has kind of taken over that in an obsessive type of way, right? But I leave him at it because, he hasn't too much else going on. I'm interested in plants and gardening and all that sort of thing. So that mundane thing would probably have been the most recent.
What do you make of that, though, that Irish people are Googling how to kiss? How did you learn how to kiss?
I don't think it's something you should have to learn. You either know or you don't. And I mean, it's a good, if you don't know how to kiss, well, forget it just at that stage.
Do you remember your first kiss? Do you remember?
I do, yeah. I was 15 and he was German. Yeah, so now, yeah, I do indeed.
Do we rely on Google too much? Is it kind of taking away the art of asking questions in conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, for example, when it comes to kissing, it should be a natural. I mean, listen, to learn anything, it's just becomes so unnatural. And it should be something that just should evolve. And then if you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it.
We use it a lot in the pub for looking up when we have pub arguments. Well, we try and hold it off for as long as possible, see who can win the argument without using Google.
And how often would this happen?
It's a regular thing, because we do the crossword as well and try and beat each other doing the crosswords. So we use Google for that. At home, any kind of slightly information thing, you'd be looking up which actor was in whatever movie we just seen and we couldn't place him or something like that.
One of the stranger things from the results released was Irish people Googling how to kiss, which we thought was kind of interesting. So, do you remember your first kiss and how did you learn how to kiss?
It was a funny one, actually. I do remember very well. I was 7 and I had, when you're 7 you have a cute little girlfriend you're set up by their big sisters, and their big sisters got great pleasure out of teaching us how to kiss. And now that I'm an adult and I realise what we were doing is pretty gross for 7-year-olds to be doing it, but it was full-on French kissing for the amusement of her big sisters. Yeah, just laughing at us on the couch kissing. I'm 45 years old now. When I was a kid there was no way of finding out a lot of this stuff, so you had a lot of myths and you had a lot of urban legends going around about what was actually happening. So the fact that people have easy access to often correct information is not a bad thing.
What would you do in a world without search engines?
Well, I've used to do the old ways. Look it up, go to the library, look it up in a book, ask somebody older.
Would you miss it?
I would, yeah. Now I'm used to it now. Yeah, I would miss it, yeah.
One last question. One of the other questions that was asked in the search bar was, what is love? So, what is love?
I'll tell you exactly what love is. I'm married only a year now, and we just had a boy. He's 3 months old. When I first saw him, I didn't think I was capable of the love I have now. And it's just, your heart explodes with joy when you see it. And the love of a newborn baby is something you can't really quantify. No, I wouldn't have to look that one up. That was fairly obvious when it happened.
Yeah, I Google it a lot. I suppose, I mean, if someone come up with a conversation, or you saw someone on TV, you're trying to remember something, you saw them else, something else you saw them in, you'd be Googling. It's just a handy way of finding out things. But
one of the odd things that we found from the survey, from the results, was that Irish people were Googling how to kiss. So presumably a lot of kind of nervous teenagers who are trying to suss it out. How did you learn how to kiss, and do you remember your first kiss?
Strangely enough, probably in school, and if I was being completely honest, it was probably the girls practising on each other, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's an all-girls school, and that's what people do. So,
if you were of this generation, do you think you would have been Googling how to kiss?
Quite possibly, yes. Yeah, well, it's something that people are obviously very curious about. They want to get it right the first time, and sure, that's one way to try and learn about it, I guess.
Are we over-reliant on Google? Are we kind of losing the need to interact with people, to ask them questions?
Yeah, I think definitely. We're, especially with sort of all the things on the internet, like social media, like Facebook and that, you kind of keep a track of people, but you're not necessarily talking to them. Even if you're in a pub or a restaurant, people are like on their phones and not talking to each other, so not always a good thing.
And what would you do in a world without search engines?
We'd have to talk to each other a lot more face to face, for sure. Yeah, in a lot of ways, the art of conversation would be better. People could spell better, that's for sure. I don't know, I'm sure we'd be inventive enough to find another way of finding out information. We did before we had them, so.
I suppose you'd be looking at kind of weird facts and stuff, like you'd be watching like old movies and stuff like that, and you'd be looking up old actors and seeing where they were, like even if they're the smallest part in the whole film, just one little scene in the whole film, like you might just look up that one actor and whatever happened to him, or because you'd never seen him ever before in another movie, so but in that movie he kind of stood out to you and you kind of looked him up. That'd be as strange as it gets, really. I suppose I know an awful lot more now that I have the likes of Google and stuff like that, like as I said earlier about like looking up old actors and stuff like that, or directors and stuff. I mean, people would know though those facts when everything is just at your fingertips, and I think if anything it's broadening people's knowledge on stuff, and little intricate details, like stuff like, for instance, like just right behind you can see the restaurant. I'm fully aware of that restaurant's menu because I looked it up a month ago, online. It was just there, and I read it, even though I've never even been there. Do you know what I mean? But I know that restaurant. I know that what they serve, and I know how much what their kind of prices are like. So I think, yeah, I think we haven't lost it. If anything, we've gained. I just can't wait till we become kind of like, demigods, and we don't actually have to do anything. We don't have to talk to each other. We can just actually, it's all telepathy, just send emails to each other's brains.
There you go. Brian O'Neill there talking to a potential demigod. Peter on Twitter.